YouTube? It is Chris here, and in today's episode, you heard right. We're actually going to be doing a full head-to-head test and review of a $2 Walmart knife versus a Mora. Now, for those of you who follow me on social media, you saw our recent Walmart trip where we actually found this $2 Billy Bays stainless steel knife, and I was pretty freaking shocked because, for all intents and purposes, this is identical, almost visually, to the Mora 511. However, the biggest difference is this runs between $10 to $15 online, depending on where you go, and we found this particular one at Walmart for freaking $1.97. Now, as you can clearly see, there are some visual differences. However, when I was walking past the aisle and I found them with my camera, the sheaths gave me pause to take a second look because, for all intents and purposes, they're pretty similar in concept and design. They're just basically an injection molded sheath designed to fit in through the handle. So as soon as I picked this knife up, the light bulb clicked and I was like, oh my gosh, could this knife hold a candle to basically the budget king of outdoor knives, Mora? And essentially we did just that. We took this outside with the Mora 511 and we decided to pit it head to head. Now the difference in price for you guys is like, oh, that's only not that big of a difference in price. They're still super cheap knives. Yes, but there are some clear differences. Now, as you'll see with this blade, it is made out of a questionable stainless steel. What I mean by that is I have no clue what it's made out of. It's still, after all the usage, it feels pretty sharp. And you saw the initial edgeness test that we did with it. I mean, they were both decently sharp. This one is designed more for the gut hooks, but as you can see from the grind lines, if you guys can see that, you can tell it was definitely roughly done on a grinder. Definitely designed to basically, because this is so cheap, designed to flood it out the door as fast as possible. The Mora, on the other hand, the handle itself is a little bit more robust. And the grind, the Scandi grind on it is done a little bit better. It is a steeper grind. That means it's not as acute. It is a little bit fatter and thicker on the edge. And one thing I needed to do to both knives, small mod that I recommend anyone with a Mora Companion, Mora 511, or you decide to pick up this knife at the end, is I use my Dremel tool to actually hit a small little spot for a ferro rod. And I'm actually going to show you what we did. It took me about 3 minutes to do on both knives. So first things first, to test the edge, and that was all it was designed for, is we took both knives and we went through and cut cordage with them. Now, what I noticed throughout testing is, due to the grind differences, like this is more kind of like, it reminds me more of like a kitchen or a steak knife more than anything, and this is definitely a Scandi grind. Now, it's still not a robust knife. It's still really thin. As you can see, the thickness of the knives are very similar. This has a slightly longer blade on it, and the functionality of what these knives can do are pretty similar. However, because of the geometry of the blade, when we were doing some feather sticking with the Mora versus the Billy Bays gut fishing knife, it tended to, this had finer curls on it, much finer curls, and this one seemed to dig a little bit deeper naturally into the wood when I was doing feather sticking. Now, I know there's plenty of people who feather stick much better than I do that can do it. We notice, regardless of the steel, because this is actually a carbon steel blade and that's a stainless steel, they both struck the ferro rod just perfectly. Now, something a lot of people have a confusion on is they say they want a carbon steel blade because they can strike a ferro rod. Well, the thing is you can strike a ferro rod no matter what. And as testing progressed, and you can see some of the wood back there, we took some natural tree branches off, that we clipped them off, and we decided to create some spikes and some tent stake wedges on there to kind of see their carving and their slicing capabilities on wood. They both seem to do a pretty darn good job. I was very happy with the performance for how cheap both of these knives are. It kind of ended up being they both did as well. So my question is, are you willing to trust a kind of an unknown name? And the thing is this is injection molded. I don't feel any give or wiggle in this thing. It's still super solid, just like it is on the Mora. Even when we decided to go out on a limb and start batoning with this wood, now we did use pine because of the fact that I wouldn't use necessarily like Texas hardwood and use it as a batoning knife. These are definitely companion style knives, things that you do camp chores with, so you can save your bigger, heavier blades for the big rugged tasks like shelter building. All in all, I am super mega impressed with the $2 knife that we found at Walmart. I was completely blown away that this thing actually hung in there. Now, one thing I do want to do is actually do an edge sharpness test on both of these and see how they are after several hours of use outside in the field. And my thing is, if you're really on a super super big budget, and even $10, like saving that extra between $4 to $8 on a knife is really going to make a big difference for you. This is one of those knives that if you're smart, you can pick up like 5 of them for 10 bucks. Now, we were able to find this particular knife on Amazon. This runs about $5 to $6. Now, it is more expensive on Amazon, and I understand why. Is due to the fact that they have to deal with the fees to keep it in their warehouse. They have to pay the employees to ship it out, and you have to pay for shipping too. So I can understand the slightly raised in price if you don't have a Walmart or you don't happen to have this blade. However, it's $5 to $6. It's still half the price of this one. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and knock out a edge test after several hours of use. And the Mora still holds a really good edge. Still always have been happy with Mora. For $10 of a knife, you can do a lot of camp chores with them and still slice paper. Now we can test this one, and like I said, this one wasn't as sharp in the beginning. Yeah, this one is considerably duller. So that is something I noticed, is where the price of the knife, the fact of the heat treat, is much different. You can see the separation and quality there. However, if you're not against using some stones or a leather strop to kind of hone this blade back up and keep it serviceable out in the field, I don't see you having a big problem. But my big question is, what do you think of this $2 knife that we found at Walmart? This literally was $1.97. I couldn't believe it. Do you feel it's an amazing steal of a deal, or do you think the fact that it did get a little dull after only a couple, 2 or 3 hours of work, that it's kind of like, not worth it, and you would always stick with Mora? Or are you willing to give another knife a chance? Now, do I think this $2 knife can compete with a Mora Bushcraft Black or any of the really high-end knives? Probably not, due to the fact that Mora does take a lot extra care, even in their grades of Mora knives, to really go out of the way. Now, a fun design might be maybe the Companion, which is maybe $5 more expensive than even the 511, but I felt because of the design, the size, the thickness, and everything, these were the best suited. But if you're interested in any of these knives and any awesome outdoor gear, we're definitely going to be linking all those awesome pieces of gear and the knives down in the video description. But like I said, we had a blast taking these really super budget kings outside and really taking these through the ringer and seeing what kind of camp chores could they do. Could they both hang? Are they still workable, serviceable blades? Now, I feel that I could get 2 or 3 extra hours out of work out of both of these before they'd pretty much become useless and I would have to sit there and sharpen them for the evening. But what I really want to know is, if you like the way we did this test footage and you're excited to see a new contender head-to-head against a Mora, definitely give this video a big thumbs up and share this out with your friends and family and your social media networks so we can keep growing, thriving, and making awesome videos for you guys. But that just about does it for now. I hope you guys have an absolute wonderful day. I'm out.